Welcome to Richmond Raceway as we prepare for the Cookout 400 on Sunday evening. But the first stop here this afternoon, well, it's Truck Series practice and Cup Series qualifying here at the Richmond Raceway. Moore and Jeffrey Hrunka, Riley Ogle behind the camera here for Motorsports today. And Jeffrey, let's first talk about the Truck Series. It's going to be exciting. A lot of discussion about the cut line. Daniel Dine, that mix. What are your expectations for tonight, and who can we expect to be the one that maybe prevails and seeks themselves into the playoffs?
We're going to expect chaos. We're going to expect rivalries going at one another. I would expect one of these guys who kind of show their hand at North Wilkesboro to be up front. One guy I'm looking for, Lane Riggs, had a really good run there, really good run at IRP.
And Lane Riggs, a lot of short track experience, should be very interesting to watch that team in a must-win situation. Overall, this afternoon, you'll see extended practice. A lot of discussion this week about the option tire this weekend. What are your expectations for that come Sunday night?
Will the tire fall off? That's the big question on everyone's mind. If it doesn't, the race is going to stagnate. If it does, what do you do with the strategy? It's all about fall off.
Welcome to the Motorsports Today content dump from our trip to Richmond Raceway. First off, a thank you to everybody from NASCAR and Richmond Raceway for making our third stop on the 2024 NASCAR calendar possible. The proceedings began with conversations with drivers during the media bullpen and Saturday press conferences. A major point in our show the last couple of weeks: does motorsports belong in the Olympics? Tim and Jeffrey spoke to several Cup Series drivers about that and received a mixed reception.
More Motorsports Today. Denny, I'm eager to get your thoughts. In 2028, the Olympics will be heading to LA. Do you think motorsports has a place in it?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. The only difference is usually in all the other sports, right, that the equipment is the same. I don't know how you would do it in a motorsports type of fashion, short of everyone having an opportunity in the same things. But we all know that, man, you change 1 degree of weather or something in it, and it could change the advantage that one has over another. So it would be very difficult. It would be very costly for the Olympic Commission to try to put something together for motorsports. But certainly, I saw some sports I didn't know existed this time around, and so would love to see motorsports a part of it. I just don't know how it's feasible it is, being that we all do drive different equipment.
Yeah, it would be cool if they had like go-karting or something like that. Yeah, I'd be all for that. I don't know how you would do it, but I'm sure there's a way. I mean, shoot, you look at some of the sports they've got. They got to be able to figure out racing.
I don't think so, personally. I think it's a really complicated thing to try to involve into that, and it's yeah, I don't think so.
I would be all for it for sure. I think the drivers really depend on the vehicle that you're going to race. Is it going to be a road course, an oval, a dirt track, a rally track, whatever it is. So that's whatever the circuit and the vehicle is going to dictate what your drivers are going to be.
And who would be your 4 guys to put on the team?
Well, it's so hard to say. What car? If you give me a car, then I'll give you some drivers.
GT car.
A GT car, so like a sports car.
Sports car, yeah.
Well, I mean, the one that comes to the top of my head, you have to have probably Jack Hawksworth, right? He's a fellow Toyota teammate in the Lexus series. He would be number 1. Hopefully, myself in there as well. So that's 2 of us. I don't know. I mean, I guess we're gonna go with Denny and Martin.
I mean, I don't really know if there has a place in the Olympics or not. I think we enjoy our off time. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It would more depend on, to me, like, what discipline it is.
So how was that break? Chicago winner Alex Bowman explains and touches on the tire compound.
After you went to Chicago, you had mentioned that you had the disadvantage on the rain tires coming here to Richmond. Of course, you didn't make the All-Star main. Do you feel there's some more disadvantages of not being able to run on that soft tire compound as compared to the rain?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we didn't get the race in it in the All-Star race. We had practice and everything on it in the open deal. So I don't know. I think the soft tire here is going to be so vastly different than it was at North Wilkesboro. I think we all hope that, at least, right? We don't want it to last forever like it did at Wilkesboro. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we have to run them with the way they're kind of mixed into the tire allotment, which I think is a really good thing, and we'll see how it goes.
And how did you spend your 2-week break, considering that you got that win?
I turned my phone off, so I didn't have to see any of the BS. So it was it's good to disconnect, right? Like, we're so drug around to different things and meetings and just constant, like, all day, every single day throughout the week, racetrack to racetrack, and it's nice to be able to disconnect. I'm also, like, happy that the team guys got that 2-week break, right? Like, I think as a race car driver, the more you can race, the better you are. So getting out of a race car isn't ever good, but the team guys having that reset was really nice. So yeah, I turned my phone off and nobody could get a hold of me. It was great.
This weekend was groundbreaking for NASCAR, as it marked the first time in the sport's 75-plus year history that a points race would be conducted with 2 different tire compounds. Denny Hamlin and Josh Berry reacted to the move.
Do you feel like this is the right time for NASCAR to introduce the option tire, or do you feel like they should have done more testing on it before, bringing it to a points race?
Well, we've done so many different tire tests, and there's only been a handful of cars out there, and so nothing replicates real world like the real world. And so I think that they did it at North Wilkesboro as a blind. They did do it during the tire test a little bit, and they were wearing out extremely high. Then they put all the cars on the track, and it's just not as bad. And certainly, I think if they would have tried this tire at a tire test, they probably would have got 20 laps out of it, and it would have been roasted, because there's just not enough tire rubber filling in the pores of the track to keep the wear down. So I think you almost have to have these real life moments of trial and error to try it. And certainly this shows me personally that we can get a lot more aggressive with our compounds on these short track tires. I would have never thought it would last 40 laps, truthfully. And I think tomorrow there's a chance it could go even longer. I'm not sure. It could go the other way too if there's more load. So it's just, who knows how this turns out, but I think it's safer to do it now than probably in the playoffs.
No, I think it's a great move. I think they gotta move the needle, and I think it's a success. And the tire wear that we had today, like I said earlier, it'll only be better tomorrow with a little cooler temperatures and more rubber on the track. So, like I said, I think we could have a fleet completely of those tires, and there wouldn't be any issues.
Could this package ultimately be instituted in the Xfinity and Truck Series? Carson Hocevar explains.
I'm sure eventually they could or maybe look at it. North Wilkesboro didn't seem to make a big difference, so maybe with the place that wears out, maybe it's a big difference, but they probably need to nail it on Sundays to be able to do it. But truck and Xfinity races, they're so short anyways, it'd be tough to kind of do that. With 500 miles, you can still play strategy and learn creating what rides to the top.
That wasn't the only tire news of the week. As NASCAR announced going forwards, teams will have the option to run wets or slicks in wet weather conditions. Christopher Bell is a big proponent of the change.
I honestly love that. I think it's absolutely perfect. If NASCAR wants to tell us, hey, we're going on wet weather tires and we're under wet conditions, then have at it with the strategy. I do really worry about the transition from wets to slicks. So I'm okay with the decision of keeping that under NASCAR's control right now, just because there's so many factors that go into it. And a lot of those factors is human safety. Whenever you're rolling down pit road on slick tires, or you're trying to accelerate out of your pit box on a damp pit road with slick tires. So I'm okay with them opening up the strategy. I think that's the right move, and frankly, I'm excited about it. I love the wet weather tires. It's been really good for me.
With just 4 races left in the regular season, the pressure is on several drivers to get to victory lane and into the postseason. Maybe none more than Martin Truex Jr., who is winless still in his final season. He speaks with Tim and Jeffrey about the meaning of winning at Richmond and some of his best memories from the track.
You mentioned the heartbreak. What would it mean for you if this was the track that earned your last career Cup Series win?
Well, if I win here tomorrow night, I plan on winning again this year, so I'm not going to say anything about where I'm going to win last. I hope it's somewhere, that's for sure. Hopefully, hopefully we're not done winning yet.
And if you win, how are you going to celebrate?
Just enjoy it with my team. They worked hard all year. We've had some getaway, like I said, and they've done a great job. We've had a lot of speed all year, and we should have a few wins. So hopefully, the luck turns, and we'll catch a few breaks here and there. It's not all about luck. Just we've had some tough breaks, so hopefully some things roll our way. But I'm confident in my team and the job they're doing, and hopefully we can put it all together.
Have you seen a number of success, through years at Richmond? What's been your favorite moment that kind of stood out to you?
Trying to remember what what year we finally won here. 2016, I think it was. We led tons and tons of laps and had those late cautions get us like earlier this season. And I think it was, it might have been 17 when we finally broke through. I can't remember, but to finally get one after, so many close ones here. It was neat.
A win would be pretty neat for Chris Buescher, too, who won 3 out of 5 races down the stretch last year, starting here at Richmond. Buescher explains his chances and his confidence heading into the Cookout 400.
At this point last year is when your run kind of started, winning 3 of the next 4. Had to be probably one of the best months of your racing career at any level. How do you reflect on that a year later?
By doing it again, hopefully. But that was an unbelievable stretch, and while we certainly did not want to be winless at this point in the year right now, you certainly look at these next handful of races with a whole lot of confidence. Really have every week. And we've been fast in a lot of places, and we've had a little bit of rotten luck. We've made some mistakes on our part that have taken us out of contention to make some wins, and accumulation of a lot of things have kept us out of victory lane. So what better time than to start at the same time we did last year and get rolling here. I think today was a strong day for us.
Some other bubble drivers discussed their expectations for the weekend, including Josh Berry, who finished 2nd here last year, and Ross Chastain.
I mean, we realize this is a great opportunity for us, right? We ran great here in the spring. We didn't execute like we needed to on pit road and kind of took ourselves out of the race, but I think we have a car that can compete with these guys. We have the starting spot that I think it's just going to come down to executing tomorrow and doing the right things, making the right calls. Obviously, a lot going on with the tires. Rodney's prepared for that, and tomorrow can be the day.
Yeah, the Richmond 100 has been pretty good to us. We've led laps, won the first stage, qualified well, but it's those next 300 that really just put us behind, and we're not in contention for the win by the end of the race. So big emphasis on that, trying to understand what's happening. We don't know. We've had all kinds of theories over the years of issues with the car and mechanical failures and this and that, and it usually was a similar outcome the next time we came back. So that's been on our minds, and I know the team's been hard at work trying to figure out how to be really good in the Richmond 400.
But momentum is a massive deal in this sport. Todd Gilliland talks about surging at the right time entering the stretch run of the season.
Our whole second half of that first part of the season going into the break, probably since March or May, somewhere like that, we ran fairly well and had really improved a lot. So I think I'm super excited. I still feel like we should bring the same speed back. I don't really worry as much about that, but just really nice to see that my guys have had a break. They seem rejuvenated, and on that side of things, I think they can even be more in tune with every detail of the car.
Kyle Busch is also winless in 2024, and Rowdy dropped a bombshell in the media bullpen, discussing a sprained wrist he suffered at Indianapolis and mentioning he may have missed races if not for the Olympic break.
Is it uncomfortable in the car?
Without 2 weeks off, I would not have been able to race. I'm good. I'm pretty good now.
Anything broken?
No. Did you need any surgery? Are you guys violating HIPAA?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to tell us.
Moving on. How about some guys who know they'll be competing in the postseason? William Byron won 3 of 2024's first 8 events, but has been lackluster ever since. Byron discusses the need to bounce back.
Considering your points position coming towards the end of this regular season, obviously the lack of results have kind of knocked you back down a little bit. Was there any emphasis of getting back on track at least to get those extra playoff points?
Yeah, I mean, it haven't really been lack of results. I think it's just been hit or miss. We had a few good results, but yeah, I think we've just been inconsistent, and I think that's where we need to improve this year, clean some of that up, and try to put ourselves in a more consistent position to score stage points and all those things. So yeah, I think we're plenty capable of that. Last year we were really consistent and just trying to put the whole race together and work our way through the weekends.
And at this point in the season, where do you feel in terms of comfort level, at least with the short track package, considering two of the playoff elimination races are short tracks upcoming?
Yeah, I mean, this place is different than the playoff short tracks, but we had a good result here in the spring, and then Martinsville is obviously really good, so just gotta put it all together.
Do you think? With 2 short track cutoff races in the 2024 postseason, is there anything that can be learned from Richmond going forwards? Tyler Reddick explains.
Yeah, I think yeah, we were really, really happy with what we had at Iowa, and I think we were a little too reactive to the tire issues that we saw, and we just didn't have the right mindset for the Iowa race. But I was really excited when this year got going at Phoenix. Myself, ultimately Christopher Bell won the race, but we were fast, we were up front. All the Toyotas were. So I feel like the amount of speed that we've been able to take to these short tracks and still be lacking little things like the balance not being right, having some other issues in the car, and still getting the finishes that we are and having the speed that we do, makes me remain hopeful for when we do get it right, that we'll be right where we belong.
Before any scores could be settled in the Cup Series, the Craftsman Truck Series took to Richmond Raceway under the lights on Saturday night. It was a triumphant night for Tai Majeski, but a heartbreaking one for Tanner Gray, who fell just short of the 2024 playoffs.
You end up coming short here tonight of the playoffs. I know it's not your goal. You had up and down days, but take me through the end of that race there. Obviously, you were on the worn tires coming there to the end. What did you have to do differently throughout the day, you think, to get into that playoff picture?
We just needed to execute better, not make as many mistakes as what we had tonight. Needed to unload without issues, and I needed to drive a better race. All the above. As a group, we just sucked. So.
Now, what is the future direction for you moving forward throughout the season? Obviously, you're not racing for the championship like you desire, but I would imagine there's at least goals and expectations on your end that you would like to get better for the start of next year.
Yeah, we certainly need to get better, but we need to sit down and evaluate what's realistic and what's not. I would have thought that we'd have been further along than what we are at this point, and I feel like we just suck. We've sucked the last handful of weeks, and honestly haven't been that good from the start of the season until now. So I feel like we've lacked speed at a lot of these places, and whether that's me or I don't know, but we haven't been good enough all year.
How about some guys who did advance to the Truck Series playoffs? Daniel Dye used a late season surge to get in, while Rajah Caruth clinched his spot back in March. They both spoke with our reporters post-race.
I think it's fair to say, after how last year went, now that you are officially in the playoffs, it's going to set in really huge for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, just talking about it, 6 years ago, I was racing quarter midgets in parking lots of these big tracks, thinking it was the coolest thing just to race there, and posting on my Instagram when I'm a little kid racing at Phoenix or racing at Texas, racing to Indy, and we got that top 10 there, and the big track was really cool. So just, yeah, feels good. I'm extremely blessed to be in this position. Yeah, man, it's just, like you said, it's a little bit surreal.
Congratulations on making your first ever playoffs. How does it feel to, get that achievement in your first season?
It's definitely special looking at the big picture. I think in the moment I'm pretty kind of frustrated with how the night ended with the tire strategy and just untimely cautions. That's kind of, it worked out for us at Vegas, and I think everywhere else it hasn't. So I'm super proud of my HendrickCars.com Silverado group, and just gotta keep digging and race for a championship. There's nothing better than that, and I've been waiting for this opportunity, so I'm ready to take it to another level moving forward and be one to watch.
But the short track king Saturday night and all season long in the Truck Series has been Tai Majeski. Here's what he had to say post-race.
Jeffrey Hrunka, Motorsports Today. So in your last two Truck Series races, you were able to win, and the Truck Series race at IRP was the first win for Ford in the Truck Series this year. What's changed with the Ford program? What have you guys found to get those back-to-back wins after Ford went winless for so long?
Yeah, I think it's just timing. These tracks are just good tracks for myself and Joe and our package and what we do at ThorSport. We've been obviously searching hard, trying to find speed, and I think there were times throughout the season where we've showed it. Other times we've been a little bit off, and it's been good to put a good stretch of races together right before these playoffs and get the morale up in the shop and get the confidence rolling. We have, I think, 2 trucks in the playoffs, Ben and I. So we want to bring that title back home to Sandusky. We're really proud to have our race shop and our headquarters up there and sort of be out of the Charlotte area and be competitive. So that's the goal. I feel really good about where we're at, and we're ready to make another run, go back home to Wisconsin for Milwaukee to open up the playoffs.
To Moore Motorsports Today. Tai, you mentioned early on about the struggles you would face. Do you feel that perhaps the 3 weeks off could have played into that a little bit, or was it just driver error?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that the break really played into that. You know, like I said, it's just the timing of when these races are on the schedule. We're always really solid at IRP, always really good at Richmond. These short tracks are really Joe and I's bread and butter. You know, we've won, you know, intermediate races before, but we definitely excel on the short track. So, but we feel like we have a chance to win any type of race, whether it's an intermediate, short track, road course. We've been in the mix on all types of different race tracks, but we definitely excel on the short tracks. And yeah, the playoffs are full of short tracks, so that's good for us. We're excited to get going. Felt like we had a really good shot at championship in 2022. Fell a little bit short in Phoenix, so we want redemption there this year.
You mentioned a lot of short tracks are in the playoffs. Is there any particular track that you're looking forward to in the round of 10?
Honestly, I'd love going back home to Milwaukee. I think that's so cool to have a home race. It's about an hour and a half from where I grew up. We'll have a lot of friends, family, sponsors that have sponsored me through the late model ranks that can go and be a part of my career in NASCAR and share that with them. So I love going back home. Really want to go back to Milwaukee and have a better showing than what we did last year. I feel like, you know, we were coming off of the IRP win going into Milwaukee last year, and you know, we were the favorites and we really didn't run that well. So we want to go back there with a little bit of a little bit different mindset, a little bit different package, and hopefully we'll sort of apply that to Phoenix. We see a lot of similarities between Milwaukee and Phoenix, so it's going to be a good test session for us.
Eventually, Sunday night beckoned, and it was time for the NASCAR Cup Series to take on Richmond Raceway for the second time this season. Tim Moore and Jeffrey Hrunka set the stage for the proceedings.
Tim Moore, Jeffrey Hrunka back here with you for Motorsports Today, Sunday evening. It's time for the Cookout 400 here at Richmond Raceway. Denny Hamlin will start on pole here this evening, while guys like Martin Truex Jr., who dominated the spring race, look to seek revenge. But Jeffrey, I want to start with you. Tonight's going to have a lot of surprises, again, back under the lights. Who do you expect to come out victorious here this evening?
I got to go with pole winner Denny Hamlin. You know, during all of his interviews, he sounds confident. He knows he can work with these option tires, these softer compounds. And with all that confidence, I can't count against him. I think he's going to sweep at his home track. He's one of the drivers with the most wins throughout the current field at Richmond. You just can't count out the number 11 team.
Indeed, on my end, I'm going with Chris Buescher. They've qualified well here at Richmond, something RFK Racing has really historically not done well throughout the spring and also summer races. But Buescher, looking for that first win, needs a spot to get into the playoffs, and winning will most certainly get it done. Of course, currently, he still can do it on points, but he'd much rather prefer to not to do that. But big picture, let's talk about the playoff battle. Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, all in the mix on points. Ty Gibbs has had a couple up and down weeks as well, and I mentioned Buescher. What are we expecting? Is this playoff battle going to be chaotic in terms of points here tonight, considering the multi-strategies outside of the tire?
I feel like Richmond is the last normal track you're going to go to, right? You have Michigan, Daytona, and then Darlington, all kinds of trouble happens there. So I feel like this is a big reset for drivers, and they know they have to take advantage here. While the option tire does throw chaos into the mix, if they manage that correctly and time out the cautions right, getting on those option tires can be the difference between winning and losing, and you're going to see guys get desperate if they're not on it.
Indeed. Well, here tonight for the Cookout 400, that'll start around 6 p.m. Eastern. You can catch coverage here with us on Motorsports Today on Twitter, as well as TikTok and at Sports Speak Live on YouTube. But from Tim Moore and Jeffrey Hrunka, stick around. We'll have live action all evening long right here on Motorsports Today.
The option tire played a crucial role in the Cookout 400, especially for Daniel Suarez, who went 15th to 1st on a Stage 2 restart and ultimately claimed the stage win, earning himself another playoff point. Suarez spoke about the package.
You took the gamble, went on that option tire, and you're able to get out to the lead. Do you feel like you would have done that? You would have been able to do that under a green flag run, or was that just the nature of everyone being bunched up on the restart?
I mean, I feel like the biggest advantage of the red tire was on restarts. In green flag, it was good, but on restarts, it was huge. So we really wanted to. We knew that everyone was gonna do that. We're gonna put the option tires in the last stage, and if everyone has the option tires, it's not that big of an advantage. So we really wanted to
play outside the box, and I think it worked out good for us. I mean, if it wasn't for the last caution, we were going to finish in the top 5. So we finished top 10 with the caution.
Austin Dillon was fast all weekend, but entered the race 32nd in points, and in overtime wrecked Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin to claim the victory. Logano was not a happy camper.
He's 4 car lengths back, not even close. Then he wrecks the 11 to go along with it. And then he's going to go up there and thank God and praise everything with his baby. It's a bunch of it's not even freaking close. I mean, dude, I get it, bump and run. I get it. I didn't back up the corner at all. He came in there and just drove through me. It's ridiculous.
That footage and audio courtesy of NASCAR and NBC Sports. Tim and Jeffrey didn't get a chance to speak to Logano or Hamlin, but did to Tyler Reddick and Ross Chastain, who both shared their thoughts on the final lap move.
Tyler, you've had numerous second-place finishes throughout this summer stretch. Do you feel like you could have done anything differently tonight to get that one more spot?
No, NASCAR should have penalized the 3 like they do everybody else, and we would be in victory lane. But it's a solid night for us. I'm okay with it. It is what it is. So really happy with the points that we gathered tonight. I've just always understood if you right hook somebody, you're sitting out of the car for a week, or you're losing points and money. So.
What was your reaction out of turn 4 after Austin moved to 22?
Stay low enough to not hit him, for sure, and then from there, just get across the line, right? So me and the 20 had banged off turn 2. I got really loose out by the wall, hit him, and then, the 22 spinning got by him, then saw the 11 get hooked. So I'm just aiming for the thin smoke, basically.
Despite the poor public reception, Richard Childress was pretty happy with his grandson's move, hearkening back to the memories of his old driver, the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt Sr. Here's how Childress and the winner, Austin Dillon, defended the last lap move.
Quite the crowd. Y'all still stunned?
He just meant to rattle his cage. He just meant to rattle.
That's all it was.
Reports that on the team radio, Austin was being told, "I don't care how you do it, just wreck him." Were you guys kind of encouraging him?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't hear anyone say it, and I was on the radio. Did you?
No,
I don't think anyone said that.
Okay.
No, everybody was quiet. We left it up to him to do his job, and hell no, nobody said go out and wreck them or do what you got to do. Nobody. I was on the radio the whole time.
Obviously, Joey Logano, Paul Wolfe, Denny Hamlin were all unhappy, but Hamlin said something to the effect of, "It's worth the trade-off." I guess to your point earlier that you think those guys would do it too. Is that kind of how this is viewed? Is it's if there's retribution, if there's payback, it's worth it to make the playoffs?
Short track racing is short track racing, and you're going to see that. I've seen it more than once, and you have too, Nate. You've been around a long time, and when it comes down to the end of the day, any of these guys do what it takes to win the race there at the very end.
Daytona, last lap, when I won there at the 500, your eyes see red. There's one thing on your mind. Get to the start-finish line first, period. No matter if anybody came on the radio, it doesn't matter. Like, you have one job to do. It's get the start-finish line first. That maybe can answer your question, Bob. A lot of people lose their jobs because they don't get the start-finish line first.
But how will NASCAR react? Competition director Elton Sawyer says they will be doing a comprehensive review of the finish.
When somebody's got hooked on the right rear like that, or NASCAR's penalized in this situation, it looked like that. What's NASCAR's interpretation?
Yeah, I would say we'll look at all the available resources, look at audio, we'll look at video, look at SMT data, as we normally do on a situation like this, and make a determination on Tuesday.
Could you take the win away, or take a playoff away, or are you talking points?
Historically, that hasn't been our DNA to take races away, but that's not to say that going forward this wouldn't start to set a precedent. We have to look at it.
Regardless of the move, it was an important victory for Austin Dillon, who silenced some critics and is playoff bound once again. Dillon spoke to Tim and Jeffrey about the significance of the win.
Tim Moore, Motorsports Day. Austin, congrats on the win. Regardless of the outcome, when you look at a big picture, your team's had a lot of struggles this season, and you guys have had a lot of changes. Just how big is it to put your team in a playoff situation when it's all said and done, considering everything that's happened this year?
Man, I tell you, with about 100 to go, 80 to go, it was very hard for me to not get emotional in the race car. It's been rough the last 2 years. And for me to see the front and race with two of the best guys in the sport and prove that I can do it when given the opportunity, this stuff ain't easy. And I won championships in the Truck Series and Xfinity Series. I'm sure there's many people out there that have wanted my head to get out of the 3-car for a long time. But fortunate I have a great family, great partners at RCR. And when given that shot, you just got to take it.
Earlier in April, you made a crew chief change to bring back Justin. What has he not only brought back, since April, but what did he bring back certainly in this race that you may have not had before?
There's just a calmness to Justin. He does a very good job of getting the best out of me, I think. I trust him. He trusted me. Just the camaraderie between the two of us. He knows that I'm trying to do the most, and sometimes he's got to tell me, hey, get out of the trailer. Shut up. It's our turn to go to work. And over the years, I've just learned to trust him.
Tim Moore Motorsports today, post Cookout 400 alongside Jeffrey Hrunka, and boy, oh boy, was it one wild ending. Austin Dillon moves Joey Logano in the final corner and makes very controversial contact with Denny Hamlin. You'll hear on the show, of course, the reactions from Richard Childress himself as well as Austin Dillon. But Jeffrey, you were alongside the 22 pit box. I was behind the 3 getting to see the reaction. I mean, what did you see out of that final corner?
I did not see anything because I looked on a TV broadcast, saw Joey Logano going into 3. I'm like, okay, I got to get ready to film the celebration. Looked at Joey Logano's pit box. They're getting ready to jump up. They don't. Hamlin in the wall. Then I see Austin Dillon go through, and then the bird by one of Logano's crew. And once I finally figured out what happened, I mean, you can't separate Austin Dillon and controversy.
And of course, I mean, we've covered a lot of races now here in Motorsports Today, and we tend to be a part of the very, very wild and wacky ones. And I thought Pocono 2 years ago was pretty wild. I think it's very fair to say this may have been the craziest race I have ever seen in terms of the ending. But I want to get your last takes on this. The playoff bubble has now completely changed. I know Eddie may get mad at this, but I talked about chaos coming into this week, and I truthfully meant it. Now it feels like this playoff bubble is anarchy because Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Chris Buescher, who had a poor running result today after issues in pit road, they're all in the mix. Ty Gibbs is in the mix. There's a lot of guys fighting for what is ultimately 3 playoff spots remaining over this final stretch.
No one's safe because guess what? We still have Daytona. If you have a new winner there, it's going to be between 2 Joe Gibbs teammates. Who would have thought it could be between Ty Gibbs and Truex after the day they both had today? The playoffs are wild for a reason.
And Elton Sawyer also sounded off. He said that NASCAR typically does not take wins away, but if there will be penalties for Austin Dillon moving forward, I would imagine it would come Tuesday or Wednesday when NASCAR announces penalties. However, from Richmond Raceway and coverage of the Cookout 400, it's been one excellent weekend. I've been Tim Moore saying so long from Motorsports Today. We'll catch you next time.
And that's all she wrote from our Richmond content dump. Thank you to Matt Humphrey, NASCAR, Richmond Raceway, and WRSU-FM New Brunswick for making all of this possible. And to our reporters, Tim, Jeffrey, and Riley for doing a great job with all the content. Stay tuned for more on Friday's edition of Motorsports Today at 12 o'clock Eastern Time on WRSU and always available after on Spotify.